The Cosmere RPG has officially launched, with all the digital assets being sent out today. But now that we have our hands on it, how does it work? What do you need to play? How do Knights Radiant work? And how quickly will you be able to use your Spren as a bicycle? In this video, we'll be covering the basics of the Cosmere RPG system so that by the end, you'll be fully ready to dive in headfirst into adventuring around the world of Roshar. Hello World Hoppers, welcome to Cosmere Horizons. Now before we go any further, I want to emphasize this video will be completely beginner friendly to those who know nothing about tabletop role-playing games and are confused what this strange dice is. But this video will also help explain the system to you dungeon crawling veterans. Additionally, this will be welcoming to those who are obsessed with the Cosmere, as well as those who haven't read any of these books and are confused what my channel's about. Speaking of which, I should probably explain what both of these are to get us all on the same page. So, what is the Cosmere? Well, I have a more in-depth video on it, and you should definitely check that out. Essentially, it's an interconnected book universe, similar to the MCU, but for books. Each series or standalone book takes place on a different planet, and the hard magic system on each planet works a little differently, but it all works under the same fundamental system. You have the Knights Radiant from the Stormlight Archive, the Mistborn from, well, Mistborn, all sorts of magic users from Elantris, and many more. But they all live in the same dwarf galaxy, all using investiture, which is essentially magic in raw form. But different magic systems utilize investiture differently. This is where the difference between the Cosmere RPG and the Stormlight RPG stem from. The Cosmere RPG is the base underlying system that has rules for how the game works. The Stormlight RPG is a section that allows you to use the magic system and world that is from the Stormlight Archive. The Mistborn RPG will be released this time next year, and it allows you to use the magic system and world from the Mistborn series. This is a living RPG, which means as Brandon Sanderon writes more, we'll keep getting updates and new worlds to explore. They've teased an Elantris RPG, Warbreaker RPG, White Sand RPG, and World Hopper RPG down the road. So eventually, you'll be able to play with a Knight Radiant, a Mistborn, an Elantrian, and a Returned in the same game, in the same story, in the same adventuring party. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love this so much. This is my favorite thing of like all the things. Make sure to note that any of these RPGs are able to stand on their own. You can have just the Stormlight RPG and play. You can have just the Mistborn RPG and play. It's just you can get more to grow your collection. Now, what is a tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG for short? TTRPGs at its core is a collaborative storytelling game in which you roll dice to affect the narrative. The most famous TTRPG is Dungeons & Dragons, however Pathfinder and Daggerheart are other notable main systems. Players will make characters to explore a world and an adventure that the Game Master, GM, has prepared. There is no physical board, although sometimes the Game Master will make physical maps to put on the table to help the players get immersed visually. Otherwise, and most of the time, people at the table just say out loud and describe what's happening in the world. Later, I'll be going into what specifically the flow of play looks like, but for now, let's just establish some basics. So as I just said, there are two main roles at the table. You have one Game Master and everyone else is a player. The players will create one character to navigate the world and the story. You give them a name, a usually tragic backstory, a race, a personality, and basically everything about them, even their frosty tips and their weird obsession with juggling. Is that just me? Any detail is possible. Now, the Game Master will control everything else in the story. Non-player characters like a bartender or a soldier, enemies, the world, the weather, basically anything else that can happen in the story. Now let's answer some basic questions. How many people do you need to play? It's technically possible at the bare minimum to play with one GM and one player. However, I really recommend having at least 2 players, with 3 to 6 players being a good sweet spot. But technically you can have as many players as you want. It's just hard to make sure everyone's having fun and feeling seen. How long does it take to play? On average, most sessions go from 2 to 5 hours, with the majority ending in 3 to 4 hours. But it's truly up to everyone at the table how long y'all want to go for. What do you need to play? 4 main things. First thing, a set of polyhedral dice. You'll want a set like this. It comes with 6 to 7 dice. It comes with a 4-sided, 6-sided, 8-sided, 10-sided, 12-sided, and 20-sided die. They will be called D and then however many sides they have. Additionally, the Cosmere RPG uses what is called a plot die. It is a special 6-sided die. However, the rules give instructions on how to use a normal D6 as a plot die, which is always an option, so you don't need to go out and hunt for this in order to play. Next, you'll need a character sheet, which the PDF is free online, so you can just print it out. Third, the rules. At least one person, if not more, should have the Stormlight Handbook as well as the Stormlight World Guide. The handbook contains the rules and classes, and the World Guide has a bunch of info from the books but organized in a nice way to help the GM out. It also has all the stat blocks for enemies/adversaries. Stat blocks are the information that involves the health of an enemy, how strong they are, and what attacks they use. If you weren't able to hop on the Kickstarter last year, the books should go on sale to the general public around the fourth quarter of the year, so near the end of the year, so you should be able to buy them soon. Now let's go into what makes this game so special, the characters. While I will touch on the basics of what goes into creating a character, I will be coming out with a more comprehensive guide soon. If you're interested in seeing that, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you in this community. I'll be going into a lot of the Cosmere RPG in these upcoming weeks. Each character has 6 main attributes that define much about their complexion. Their strength, how strong they are. Speed, how fast they are. Intellect, how smart they are. Willpower, how determined and focused they are. Awareness, how aware of their surroundings they are. And presence, their social presence in any environment. You make these attributes higher if you want your character to be better at skills related to them. A higher strength means you are better at athletics. These attributes and skills are what make up the bulk of the top half of your character sheet. Say you're attempting to jump between building rooftops in Azamir to escape some palace guards. You might be required to make an agility check, which would require you to roll the d20, the 20-sided die. If you have a nimble character with a high speed, you might be able to add 3 to whatever you roll on the d20, ultimately helping your odds. All of your skills will correspond with an attribute. These are why the attributes are important. If you have a high awareness, you will be able to roll better on insight, perception, and survival checks. You will also be able to fill in more of these bubbles as you level up, which will make you specifically better at certain skills. Increase your intimidation to feel more of a threat on the battlefield. Or maybe your stealth to be better at sneaking past guards without being seen. The choice is up to you and how you want to play your character. Now, on top of these skills, you will have special abilities that are called talents. Your talents are determined by the skill tree/path you have access to. There are 3 main types of paths in the Stormlight RPG. There are heroic paths, which everyone has access to, Knight Radiant paths, which anybody has the option of picking up at level 2 or higher, and your Ancestry path, which is available for non-humans, aka singers. In this video, we will only really talk about heroic paths and radiant paths, but subscribe to make sure you don't miss videos where I go deeper into it. There are 6 main heroic paths. These are what is known as classes in other games. No matter how you create your character, you will always have at least one of the heroic paths, as these classes are independent from the Knight Radiant classes. I know you're excited for that. I get you want to fly, but you just have to sit, wait there, and be patient. I'll get there, okay? These 6 main paths are the Agent, the Envoy, the Hunter, the Leader, the Scholar, and the Warrior. Each of these 6 paths have 3 subclasses, which should give you a bit of a better understanding about what you will get from that class. Each time you level up, you get a new talent. If you have started on the Warrior Heroic path and you level up, now you can choose any of these 6 new talents. But also if you want, you can instead pick up the first talent of the Agent Heroic path. This means character creation is super flexible. You are not locked into a heroic path. You can always branch out and learn new things. Think about Kaladin. Yes, he's a warrior, but he's also a surgeon and eventually a leader. All of these are different avenues you can explore and build into your character. Each time you level up, you get 1 talent and it's up to you which path to progress. This is going to bring us into the second main type of path for the Stormlight RPG, the Radiant paths. The Knight's Radiant is how magic manifests in the Stormlight Archive, and they are available to players starting at level 2. There are 10 Radiant paths: Windrunners, Skybreakers, Dustbringers, Edge Dancers, Truth Watchers, Lightweavers, Elsecallers, Willshapers, Stone Wards, and Bondsmiths. If you haven't read the books, I understand those words probably mean nothing to you, but I'll try to break it down so you can understand. Each order has access to 2 of the 10 surges. Surges are a simple magic ability that you can use in multiple creative ways. For example, gravitation allows you to change which direction is down for you or someone you touch. Maybe you send your enemies to the ceiling or come barreling down a hallway to chase after someone. Illumination allows you to create visual illusions constructed of pure investiture. You can put a disguise on yourself or craft fake walls to hide behind. You can use these surges in near limitless types of ways. Each surge is shared between 2 orders of Radiant. For example, the Windrunners have access to the 2 surges of Adhesion and Gravitation. Skybreakers have access to the two surges of gravitation and division. They share the surge of gravitation. Skybreakers and Dustbringers share the surge of division. But Dustbringers have adhesion instead of gravitation as their second surge. So how do you get access to the surges? Each order has a core tenet, a belief they hold to their core. Windrunners will protect. Will Shapers will seek freedom. Edge Dancers will remember, and so on and so forth. If you have an order in mind that you want to play, you might want to have your character exemplify some of those traits. Or, if your GM notices that your character is demonstrating some of these traits, they can select it for you. It's up to communication with you and your GM with how you want that to work. Do you want to choose, or do you like the idea of the world choosing it based on the way your character's acting? Which is technically how it works in the books. You'll begin to attract a spren that corresponds with an order. A spren is a tiny spirit that floats around and follows you. Ink spren for Else Callers, Peak spren for Stone Wards, and more. I'm going to give an example on how this works so you can get a better visual. You are playing Damien, a strong family man Herdazian who is weirdly good at knitting. Cute. Throughout the adventure, Damien is constantly protecting people, often putting himself in harm's way to make sure innocent NPCs are saved. The GM notes this and lets Damien know that he has attracted the attention of an honor spren, the spren of the Windrunners. The next time Damien levels up, he has the option to pick from the first talent of the Windrunner Radiant Path, Speak the First Ideal. This does not make him a Windrunner yet. However, he now has a goal, Speak the First Ideal. Damien will then do actions that correspond to the first ideal. There are examples in the handbook, however the first ideal is pretty broad. Eventually, once you've done enough and checked off the goal, it is up to Damien to say the first ideal out loud. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. And if your character has put in the work and exemplified this oath, this ideal, the GM will accept your words and you will have achieved the first ideal of the Windrunners. You become empowered for the scene, meaning you automatically fill up to max investiture at the end of every turn. Once you swear the first ideal, you officially become a member of that order of Knight Radiant and immediately gain access to two surges your order grants you. Swearing ideals are awesome moments in any adventure campaign, as your character can only do it 4 times, period. It is super powerful and super awesome. The second ideal of the Windrunners is, I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. Eventually, if Damien wants to progress his strength as a Windrunner, he can choose the goal to say this as he levels up. Now, whenever he demonstrates protecting those who cannot protect themselves, he'll get a little closer to saying those words and getting that ideal. I understand this is probably a lot, but I hope it gives you a basic understanding with how the magic system works. Feel free to hop over to my Discord with any questions you may have, and I'd be more than happy to answer. Now that we have a basic understanding of what you need, the difference between GM and player, and the paths of the Stormlight RPG, let's talk about gameplay. If there's an action a player is trying to accomplish, the GM might require a skill check if it is somewhat difficult. If someone is looking around a battlefield for their younger brother, the GM might require a perception check to find them. If you're trying to lie to a High Lord to try to steal some of his stuff, you might need to make a deception check. The GM will have a number in their head that the player needs to roll in order to succeed the check. This number is what's called the DC, or the difficulty class. The player will roll a d20 and add their modifier to see if they beat the DC. If you're looking for your brother on that battlefield, you might need to add your perception modifier. If you're lying to the guards, you're adding the deception modifier. If you're rolling to see if you can carry a wounded soldier across the battlefield, you might add your athletics modifier to that check. Sometimes the GM may ask you to roll with advantage or disadvantage. This just means that you roll 2 dice and use the higher number for advantage, and if it's disadvantage, you will use the lower of the 2. In the Cosmere RPG, if you have advantage, it's up to you to choose which dice you're adding it to. So maybe you add it to your d20 when you're rolling to hit someone to make sure you actually hit them. Or maybe you add it to your damage die, so when you hit them, you actually hit really, really hard. It's up to you to decide. Okay, now let's talk about the plot die, which is completely new and unique to the Cosmere RPG. The plot die is this unique d6 that adds a whole new dimension to the game. On certain rolls, the GM may ask the player to raise the stakes, and this means in addition to whatever dice you're rolling, you will also roll the plot die. On a plot die, you can either get an opportunity, a complication, or a blank. I know you probably can't see the dice right now, but we'll put a close-up over top. An opportunity is really good. You might do max damage on a hit, be looking for a weapon and find something really strong that you couldn't even have expected to find. Or maybe the cavalry arrives. A complication is bad. You might get disadvantage on your next roll, lose a focus, or maybe an NPC has frozen in fear when you all are running for your lives, and now you need to make a frantic last effort to save them. One thing that is interesting is the complication will either have a 2 or a 4 on it, which means you get to add to your roll. This means it becomes more likely to succeed your roll, yet still have a complication, which adds to exciting moments with disastrous consequences. It's pretty awesome. Now, gameplay boils into 3 main parts: conversations, endeavors, and combat. Conversations are exactly what they sound like. Players interact with something, usually an NPC, to gain information and figure out what to do next. This can be as serious as talking a psychopath out of a hostage situation, or maybe you're trying to unionize all of Roshar against the Light Eyes and convince them to join the People's Political Party, where the real difference comes from you. No matter what the situation is, usually there are multiple outcomes that can come out of it. You may have to make a few deception checks, or maybe a couple persuasion checks. One thing I want to emphasize, role-playing has become super popular over the last few years, with popular actual plays such as Critical Role and Dimension 20 having voice actors and comedians playing TTRPGs. You may have seen clips such as this.
You want to know what I've always hated about mortals?
And you feel his claws dig into the back.
You're wrong! I lay a hand on him and I cast Remove Curse.
He laughs uproariously.
Look at me. This is not who you are. This is not who you are! Who am I?
This extensive character roleplay is not required by any means. It is totally possible to contribute in conversation by talking in the third person, describing what your character does. Me personally, I love me some first person roleplay. That is my bread and butter. But I understand that's not for everyone. Just like Wind and Truth. That's a good bit. I'm proud of that bit. That was a good bit, Dylan. It's up to you and everyone at the table to discuss what they're comfortable doing. Role-playing is something that I recommend everyone at least try, but it's never a requirement. Next, you have endeavors. These are unique to the Cosmere RPG. An endeavor is a large task that the group is trying to accomplish. Maybe you're trying to escape a monstrous chasm fiend through the chasms of the Shattered Plains. Or maybe you're conducting a search for a light-eyed parchment who has mysteriously disappeared. Players will say what they want to do to contribute to the endeavor, where usually the GM will ask them to make some sort of check. There is no direct turn order in these endeavors. There will be a specific number of tests you need to succeed in order to achieve your goal, and there's a specific amount of failures that will cause you to fail. For example, say you're trying to rescue a family from a burning building. The GM will let the players know that they need 4 successes before they get 3 failures in order to achieve the overall objective. Maybe each failure after 3, if that happens, causes a member of the family to die. That would really raise the stakes. Endeavors are super exciting and memorable moments for any adventure. Now, let's talk about combat, because, oh boy, buckle your seatbelts. Combat is the most structured part of gameplay. While I won't be able to go in full depth here, it is something that can be its own video, so let me know if that's something you want to see in the comments below. Combat follows a specific turn order. Each turn you will have actions to spend. Attacking with a sword is an action. Bracing behind a boulder for cover is an action. There's a cheat sheet guide with all the actions on it that I will include in the description below. At the beginning of each round of combat, players will individually choose if they want to take a slow turn or a fast turn. Fast turn players will get to go first, but they only get 2 actions on their turn. Slow turn players have to wait a bit, but then they get 3 actions on their turn. The order of play is fast turn players, fast turn NPCs/enemies, slow turn players, slow turn NPCs/enemies, and then you start the round over. When you are attacking someone on your turn, you will roll a d20 to see if you are able to hit them, and you're trying to beat their physical defense. If you attacked with a light weapon, you get to add your light weaponry modifier to the roll. If you attacked with a heavy weapon, well, I think you can figure that one out. Each weapon has a specific die that you can roll for damage. A long spear will let you roll a d8, and that's pretty good. You get to add the modifier to your damage die as well. So, to recap, when you attack someone, you roll both the d20 and the damage die at the same time. Add the appropriate modifiers to both, and see if you can deal that damage. If you miss, don't worry, you can spend a focus to graze a target, dealing whatever you roll on the dice to the target regardless. Say you roll an 8 on your d8 damage die, but you miss the target, you might want to spend a focus because that will do a significant amount of damage. You don't get to add your modifier, but that 8 damage is still probably worth it. Whenever you make a roll in the Cosmere RPG, you roll all the dice at once. D20, damage die, plot die, and an extra die for advantage. You roll all 4 of those at once, and trust me, it feels amazing. There's a mechanic in other TTRPGs called opportunity attacks, which means if you walk away from your enemy for any reason, they get to attack you. This generally had a negative impact on the game, as it restricts movement and it just becomes goblin hit player, player hit goblin, goblin hit player, player hit goblin. Goblin dies. In the Cosmere RPG, this is refined to reactive strikes, meaning a player/enemy can use their 1 reaction per round to spend a focus to make an attack on the person fleeing. Attaching the focus to this mechanic maintains the benefit of opportunity attacks while adapting to a more versatile flow of play. It's pretty awesome. With the surges of the Knight Radiant, the plot die, and the utilization of focus, combat can become a very dynamic and exciting experience that can foster the most memorable moments for everyone at the table. And now you have a basic understanding of how to play the Cosmere RPG. Your sessions can be connected to create a longer lasting campaign where the story connects from session to session, whether you play weekly, bi-weekly, or never, because scheduling is a nightmare. This is why you can just do a one-shot, where you just sit down and do one short adventure entirely in one session. As a GM, you can make whatever story you want. Your creativity is your limit. However, if you want to get your hands around GMing without wanting to overwhelm yourself, there are pre-written adventures to help you and your adventuring party warm up to the system. There is Bridge 9, a level 1 adventure that does a great job at introducing the main base mechanics of the Stormlight RPG, and it's a lot of fun. It can be played in 1 to 2 sessions. There is Speak the Words, a 3rd level adventure that gives 1 to 2 players the chance to swear the first ideal. You can check out what this looks like on Brother Y's YouTube channel. I played alongside Lightcolors, Steve, the Cosmere Knot, and the Bad Luck Gamer, and it was the best time. That video was so fun, so please go check it out. Lastly, there's the Stonewalkers campaign. This will take players from level 1 to level 7, and it will be played over many sessions. It's an epic adventure that is canonical to the Stormlight Archive, and it answers the question, what happened to Talon's Honor Blade? Like I said, this is a basic understanding, but if you have any more in-depth questions, hop on over to my Discord server and feel free to ask them there. I'd love to help you out. Also, there's like a community too. Like the community will help you out too. It's not, anyway, consider subscribing if you want to see future Cosmere RPG content. And if you're looking for people to play with, hop over to my Discord server. There's a looking for group channel and you can try to find people to play with there. Thank you so much to my patrons, Mac, 6H23, Zainef, and Dan for your constant support. And I can't wait to start playing the Cosmere RPG with y'all. Okay, love you, bye.